Hi, guys. Welcome to the live with me. This is Kim Howerton, and it is Tuesday evening. I'm back after a little hiatus. It's been a little busy around here, so glad to be here for your questions. I posted today, I got an air fryer. I got it from Williams Sonoma. It's the Breville. I think it's the same one that Nisha got long time ago. This is my first air fryer. We had to get the one that's like a little it's a combination no, not microwave. They don't make that. That's not what I mean. A combination toaster, like a toaster oven and air fryer, rather than one of the kind that you like has a basket in it. We got that because we got rid of our toaster to get the air fryer because we have no room for both the toaster and the air fryer. And my boyfriend toasts things, so we need a toaster. So, and we liked the idea of it being like a little oven too. So we got the smaller one because the larger one would not fit in our kitchen. We have like, there's one wall where there's like a countertop that's only about 15 inches deep. So it's not really a working countertop, but there's this long-ish, not very long, longish counter that's 15-inch deep, and it's sort of where all of our appliances go. So we got the microwave. It's like it's packed. We got the microwave, we got the air fryer. Then next to the air fryer, we've got the KitchenAid mixer. Then we've got the Creami, and then the little coffee maker. So that's it's our area where all of our stuff is. And so that is it fits. We made it fit. So we're good to go. The toaster oven used to be there. It's been disposed of. So welcome. Hey guys. So I've been baking up a storm in it, not really baking, roasting more. I've tried steak, I've tried chicken, I've tried eggplant, I've tried carrots. Been doing a lot of different roasting things in it to see how it comes out. So it's been a lot of fun to play with. And when I get a new thing, I get a little obsessed. So first it was the Creamy, now it's the air fryer obsession. And I'm here on Tuesday nights to answer questions, talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. I'm happy to go into things that you might. Hey, John, it's nice to see you. John and I had a little interview earlier today where we had a good time. So you can check that out on his channel on YouTube. David, hey, nice to see you. And if you have questions, just write them in the comments. I'll see them and I'll do my best to answer them. What is going on in the world right now? I am working on holiday recipes, editing some things. Haven't heard back from the printer that the Common Sense Labs book is not yet done. So there's a lot of double negatives. I have not yet heard that it's done, which means it's not yet done, but it's in process at the printer. As soon as that's done, books will start shipping. I'm guessing the last week of the month. And I'm excited for that. Things got about a month delayed since the original air date was planned, and that's been frustrating for everyone. I know. So thank you for your patience. And if you have questions about food, lifestyle, please let me know. Hey, Bob. David has been enjoying the podcast. Yes, do you guys know that I have a podcast? You can listen to it on YouTube. You can listen to it on Apple. You can listen to it on Spotify. Wherever you can listen to podcasts, you can probably listen to it. So if you are interested in that, please check it out last week. Last week. What day is this? I don't know. Last week, I talked to Chef Michael. If you've ever watched MasterChef, you might know Chef Michael, but he's also, when not being a TV star on a cooking show, he's generally keto. And so he has produced 3 at this point keto cookbooks, one of which is coming out in a week. And so right now there's a pre-order up for that. So if you go to the podcast, to the show notes about it, there is a link where you can learn about how you could get a free ebook if you sign up for the pre-order of his newest cookbook. So a little bonus for you if you want to do that. So if you don't understand anything about what I just said, look on my YouTube channel or on whatever podcast player you play. Look for the episode that's most recent with Chef Michael, and there should be a link there that'll take you to his website where you can pre-order the book. Melinda says, Not giving up, but still stalled after 8 months, mainly carnivore, even gained a few pounds. All right, Melinda. So I was where you are. Stall is not uncommon. Here's the deal. Generally speaking, stalling is very, very, very common. Most people, I would say most people on a weight loss journey seem to have a period where they stall. The fact that you've stalled for 8 months would indicate that there is perhaps a problem with your approach at this point. So, why might there be a problem that comes up? There can be a variety of reasons why people stall. By the way, this is what I do all day. I talk to people about stalls, so I am here for it, because I went through that and I did not like that. And I had to assess what was wrong. And I like to help other people get unstuck. So just being carnivore is not enough to break a stall. Now, if you go carnivore or stay carnivore, or carnivore helps you in a lot of ways, health wise, it might help you break a stall. If you've been, and why might it do that? Well, carnivore is very satiating for a lot of people. It also takes out an element, which is variety. I mean, I'm not saying carnivore is boring. It's just there's a lot less food variety, right? You can't have a good majority of the things that you might even have on keto. And so when you combine those two factors, a highly satiating diet and reduced food novelty. So food novelty leads to weight gain often. So reduced food novelty and because having the same thing over and over again, that's the opposite of novelty. And so carnivore can help a lot of people get off of the thing that wasn't working for them about their diet. However, you can overeat on carnivore. That's not the only reason that you might be stalling, but it's probably involved. One of the things that happens for a lot of people is that they get into a place where they're eating less and less and less. So they have a lot of metabolic adaptation. Their body is adapted to running on fewer and fewer calories, right? I see this a lot that women will eat less and less and less trying to lose weight. Their body sort of grinds to a halt in terms of fat loss. And then they're in this position where then they're like, okay, I'm going to go to carnivore, but they're already kind of at the bottom. They might need a period of actually eating more. They might need a reverse diet. They might need some time at intentional maintenance to bring up their metabolic rate, undo some of the changes. If you undereat for a long period of time, you have hormonal adaptations. Your leptin, your ghrelin, your body just says, we're going to have to hang on to what we got because I can't. Um, and then you need to fix what's going wrong. So if you have an 8-month stall, I'm going to say that something is not quite right. And it would be time to investigate what's not quite right about that. And so I would track what you're eating for a while and see if gosh, am I eating a lot more or a lot less than I think I should be? And if so, what's the next right step to fix what I've been doing, setting myself up for success in the future? Hey, Jackie, nice to have you stop by. Amy said, I wake up every night around 2 or 2:30, no matter what time I go to bed. Any suggestions for sleeping through the night? Well, first thing I would like to say, which may or may not make you feel better, is in my research about sleep, which I've been doing recently, I found out it's not uncommon and not actually a sign of any problem to wake up in the middle of the night, especially when we're out of our teens and 20s. The issue would be if you can't go back to sleep. So to briefly wake up, to briefly come to consciousness and be able to go back to sleep within a few minutes, sometimes you're not even aware you're waking up, but clearly you are. If you can do that, then that is not a sign of anything being wrong. That's pretty normal. If you're waking up at 2 or 2:30 and then you're like, I am now awake and I cannot go back to sleep, that is something to deal with. And it could be that you're having inappropriate cortisol cycles. So if you're having your cortisol is peaking too soon, it will be a cause of you waking up more, being more alert, like you're getting the wake up signal several hours before you should be. And so those are things you're going to need to look at. I would also look at, when are you stopping caffeine during your day? What is your wind down routine like at night? So optimally, what we want to do, I will take you through this. All right, what we want to do optimally is we want to get up in the morning, uh, you know, after the sun rises, or you could about then. I do not, because that is awful to me. But once you're awake in the morning, you want to get outside for about 10 minutes and get light in your eyes. So no sunglasses on, direct sunlight. I mean, don't like stare at the sun, but sunlight directly in your eyes, looking out over the horizon, you know, and not wearing sunglasses during that. You can wear regular glasses. Um, Getting that natural light. If there's a window between you and the outside, will not do it. So, why is this important? Well, to get that initial hit of early morning light, it's going to help with your circadian rhythms, which is going to help that cortisol melatonin cycle work better the next night, right? And so you get that early morning sun. Now, getting a little bit of exercise would be good too. So I'm going to describe optimal with the awareness that not all of us will do this. But if you want to know, if you're like, hey, this is really a problem, and what can I try? Get up, get out. Like, go get up, pee, throw on some clothes that you don't mind being outside in for a minute. If you have a backyard, that's fine. You can go out front. Take a 10-minute walk while you're outside. A little bit of exercise first thing. It doesn't have to be hard, but getting the blood flowing, getting a little bit of exercise, that's going to be helpful. So get up in the morning, get outside as soon as you can. Notice I have not yet said have coffee, so don't have coffee yet. Get up, get outside. You could drink a glass of water if you wanted to. Pee. You have to do that. I always have to do that when I get up. Go take a 10-minute walk outside. If it's raining, you can use an umbrella, whatever. It's fine. But you want to get that light. Even if it's cloudy, you might want 20 minutes, but it'll still work well if the light is still fine if it's cloudy. Then come back home. I would say wait about an hour before you have your first cup of coffee from the time you get up. Some people say this is because you don't want to double down on cortisol. That's not actually 100% the reason. I mean, it might be related, but it's not the main reason. Here's the main reason. We have a hormone in our body called adenosine, and adenosine is suppressed by caffeine. So adenosine is the I'm tired hormone. And so if you have caffeine, if you have coffee, caffeine, Diet Coke, whatever your caffeine of choice is, right? It will block the adenosine receptor. So you'll feel more alert because you've blocked the thing that's making you feel a little sleepy. The problem is, when you first wake up, you might still have some residual adenosine in your system. And so if you don't allow that time to clear out of your system, and then you have some coffee first thing before you do the light and going outside and doing some things like that, you haven't used up that adenosine. You have um just suppressed it. So then when that caffeine wears off about the mid afternoon, you have a crash because, ooh, that adenosine was just waiting for you. It didn't have time to completely clear out. So if you wait an hour or so after you wake up, it gives it time to burn off the adenosine. And then it's just building up in the background through the day. And it's naturally meant to peak before you go to bed, which would make sense because that tiredness is what you want at the end of the day. So that's the main reason you want to hold off on caffeine a little bit. So, an hour or so after you wake up, great time to have a little bit of coffee. If you do coffee, if you don't do coffee, don't do coffee. It's can be kind of a cycle. So you don't have to, but if you do caffeine, wait about an hour. So have a cup of coffee at that point. Then if you're somebody that has trouble sleeping or wakes up too easily, I would stop the coffee no later than about noon. Then I would switch to decaf after that point. You can still have coffee, but change it out to decaf. So then you're going to live your life, have your day, focus most of the calories you eat in your day in the early half of the day. Not saying you can't eat dinner, but if you think about like your biggest meal, it should be in the first half of the day, not the last half of the day. You want to leave yourself at least 3 hours before bedtime after eating as well. That will help with sleep quality. In part because if you still are digesting food, your body temperature will be slightly higher. And this is just the way it is. Our body temperature goes down about a degree to allow us to fall asleep, and our body temperature goes about up about a degree when we wake up in the morning. That cortisol actually starts to bring our temperature up with other things. And so if you don't let your body cool off at night, it'll cause problems sleeping. So sometimes if your temperature goes up while you're sleeping for any number of reasons, it'll wake you up. This has happened to some of us when it's really hot where we live, right in the summer, and we don't have air conditioning, and you wake up hot, right? If you're it's just it's part of your biology. If you warm up while sleeping, you'll wake up. So you want to sleep in a cold room. So like let's talk about bedtime routine. First thing is taking a warm or hot shower or bath before bed will help. Now, what did I just say? I said you want to cool off. So, how does that work? Well, apparently, if you heat the surface of your skin, it actually moves. You know how your skin turns red if you're in a hot shower or bath? It moves the blood out of your core and into your extremities under your skin, and that actually allows you to cool off faster. Now, you don't want to soak in a hot tub for hours on end. That actually it cooks you. It warms you to the inside. You're just trying to warm the outside of your body to pull heat away from your core, which will actually make your core temperature colder. So the opposite is true about a cold shower. So if you take a cool shower in the morning, it actually helps your core temperature warm up. Strange, right? So at night, warm shower or bath, but not too long. Don't get dehydrated. Don't stay in there until you get dehydrated. Don't cook yourself. And then you want to make sure that once the sun goes down outside, that you dim all the lights in your house. You don't have to turn off all the lights. Don't want you to trip over anything, but dim the lights or turn off 50% of the lights, have softer light bulbs, start bringing the quality of light down. I don't actually believe in blue blockers all day. You do want some blue light earlier in the day. But late at night, you could wear blue blockers or just turn the lights down. Don't look at screens for about an hour before bed. That includes, your phone, put that away at least an hour before bed, or movies or things like that. And read a paper book or something that doesn't have illumination behind it. Or you can listen to a podcast, or just listening is fine. Can be helpful to engage the mind. Do a little bit of meditation late at night. That's going to kind of bring you down. So these are all things that you can do that are helpful to improve your sleep quality. So if you're not doing most of those things and you really struggle with sleep, then that's something you might want to look at. Somebody else commented they wake up 4 or 5 times a night to pee. That is not normal. Just going to say, yeah, if you wake up in the middle of the night, you might notice you have to pee. So you should pee. And that's not a big deal if you wake up once to do that. But 4 or 5 times is ridiculous. So you will want to look into that. There are actually drugs you can take that will suppress your need to urinate. Oh, I didn't mention this, that alcohol is really going to mess up your quality of sleep as well. So if you're somebody that struggles with sleep, don't drink alcohol. Okay. So, but one trick that some people have found effective if they pee too much at night is to have a little more sodium late in the day. So, not like a lot of water late in the day. So, keep your water more on the early side of the day. But yeah, you shouldn't be up 4 or 5 times a night to use the bathroom. That is really a problem. Oh, and somebody mentioned this. Thank you. I forgot this, but it's true. You shouldn't be able to see any clock faces in your room. So if you have an alarm clock or whatever, turn it so you can't see what time it is while you're in bed. You want your room also to be like pitch black, really dark, and you want your bedroom sleeping temperature between 65 and 68 degrees. Now, you're welcome to load on the blankets if that is too cold for you physically, but you want the room temperature to be cool. Um, all right, so that's the sleep routine stuff. So thank you. It just says Facebook user. I'm sorry, for some reason it doesn't say who you are, but thank you for reminding me about the clock faces. Um, Jammer asked about the book. I addressed that at the beginning. There was an email that went out, but apparently not everyone got it. Group emails are kind of a bane of my existence. The book was supposed to come out at the end of September. It got delayed in printing. So now it's coming out at the end of October. So it got moved out 4 weeks. So the end of October should be when it is shipping out. So thank you for your patience. I'm sorry that everyone had to wait. We did put on the website that it is a pre-order that people were ordering. So you ordered it before it was printing, right? And so unfortunately, the printing process can have some hiccups. And the good news is because you ordered during the pre-order, you got a free gift. You got a digital copy of the book as well. And so once the book is printed and people buy the physical book, they'll just get one. They won't get both. So you got an extra $14.95 gift for your patience. So we appreciate you. We appreciate your patience for sure. It's out of our hands. We can't do anything about it. But and maybe I guess maybe, could we have explained it better? I don't know. But it was pre-order is what it was called. So it was before the book was printed that you made when you placed your order. So I mean, technically, if we didn't do that and we didn't allow people to pre-order, we would have not have the book would still not be up for sale yet. It would be up for sale in a few weeks. So you just placed a hold on it and got the digital copy in advance. The printing process is not, unfortunately, instantaneous like I would like. The reason we did that, in case anybody's like, well, why did you do that? Sorry, the light is very odd on me right now. The reason we did that is because we wanted to know how many books to order. We wanted to get a gauge for. I mean, we honestly didn't know how many people would want a physical book versus how many people would want a digital book. And so by allowing us to have that pre-order process, it let us know how many books to order so that we weren't in a position where we ordered either way too many or way too few books compared to what people wanted. So we appreciate people's feedback on that. Unfortunately, when you tend to ask people, what would you like in advance? It doesn't always prove to be the thing that they do. It's just psychology. It's just the way people are. If you're like, do you want this thing? And you're like, yes, yes, I do. And then you go to let them order it and they order something else. I would be the same way. We all do that. That's just human nature. So it helps to have like an actual accounting of what we need to fulfill what people are looking for. And I've just been rambling. All right. Any other questions going on out there today? I again have two beverages. This is a sparkling water, and this is the remnants of my iced coffee. It is a decaf. So in what we were talking about earlier, when I started researching sleep more, now I come from my mom is the same way. I can have an espresso at dinner and feel like I can sleep just fine. Never struggled with that from caffeine. If I'm stressed out, I struggle with sleep, but if just from the caffeine. And I listened to a sleep expert who's talking about this, and he was like, just because you think you're sleeping okay, you're probably not sleeping okay. So I have switched. If I'm having a coffee in the afternoon, I make it a decaf instead. So I've ordered decaf nut pods. So I don't know if it's making a huge difference, but I'm trying to load things in my favor. The two things back on the sleep topic, what's interesting is that they found in studies that cognitive behavioral therapy is as effective in the short term as medication, like sleeping pills, to help people sleep better. But in the long term, cognitive behavioral therapy is much more effective because once you do the behavioral therapy and you put these therapies into effect in your life, you're done. And now you can sleep well. Whereas with medication, you stop taking the medication, it stops working. And then the other part about it is your sleep quality is not as good on medication as it is just naturally. And so kind of they induce unconsciousness. They don't really induce true sleep, at least not as restorative a sleep. And I know a lot of us really might resist the idea that it's psychological. You're like, it's not all in my head that I can't sleep. I really can't sleep. And I believe you. But there are things that we can do. And the number one cause of insomnia is anxiety. And not all anxiety manifests as what we imagine anxiety looks like. We live in a society where I think if you aren't anxious, you're not paying attention because things are crazy. And so normal anxiety is kind of normal now. And so working on that anxiety, even if you're like, I don't know what I'm anxious about, but working on ways to counter anxiety can be the most beneficial thing that we can all do to have better quality sleep. CBD for insomnia, there's mixed bag on that, and mostly they have not found. Now, you'll always be able to find anecdotal evidence that people say it helps them, so that may be very true. There's yet to be a study that shows that it's super effective. Interestingly, kiwi and tart cherry do seem to slightly improve sleep quality, although both of those would be a little challenging with keto, although in small quantities, probably not. And so, in terms of things that actually do help sleep, just across the board, journaling, meditation, cognitive behavioral therapy, those are all honestly your best bet, even if you feel like an idiot doing them. I mean, a lot of us feel like an idiot meditating. I get it, but it does actually work. So, but some people do say they feel like they sleep better with CBD. Um, so melatonin is another interesting one. But what's interesting is melatonin only helps you fall asleep. And I find most people who struggle with sleep, they can fall asleep. They can't stay asleep. Amy just brought up magnesium. That's a good one. If you are magnesium deficient and you take magnesium, it will absolutely help. If you're not magnesium deficient, it probably won't. In the studies, they found people, like, they tested people's magnesium level, and if they had an appropriate level of magnesium, they did not experience a lot of help with sleep. But if they were insufficient on magnesium, they did. And so if you are low on magnesium, and the truth is most of us probably are low on magnesium, so that is definitely something that can help. It looks like magnesium threonate, because magnesium threonate is the only form of magnesium that crosses the blood-brain barrier, is probably your best bet if you need help sleeping. But the other thing that's very interesting is magnesium, when you need it, if you're deficient in magnesium, it also helps with anxiety. So those are all great things to work together. So at night, I would say having a good wind down routine, making sure you're getting enough magnesium, making sure you're not eating too close to bed, hot bath or shower, dark room, cool room. Oh, got a time delay on my side. So hopefully you guys can still see me okay. Anyway, so those are all things good for sleep. All right. Thanks, Amy. It just didn't, magnesium went through. John mentions a white noise machine. Yeah, absolutely. So if you're now, this is a funny thing about me. I hate that noise. So like the noise of a white noise machine or a fan make me anxious. So I don't do well with those. But for a lot of people, they find white noise machines very helpful. There's also something called brown noise, which I prefer to white noise. So it's just a different kind of noise in the background. Um, but yeah, especially if you live somewhere that's a little noisy and the noises are sort of like um, uneven, and that wakes you up, that your attention goes to it, that can be helpful. We're all a little unique about what our brains enjoy. So, yeah, gray noise, white noise, they're just different frequencies of noise. And so this light is really, there's like a window on one side of me, and it's all of you are like, stop talking about it. It's irritating that you're talking about it. And good. Oh, that's better. Okay. See, you can tell that I am a naturally anxious person. My brain is always going. All right. Sigi says, yes, brown noise is more helpful and less annoying than white noise. Yeah, it's really funny because my boyfriend loves a fan on when he's sleeping, and I have to like talk myself through the fan. It makes me agitated. Jackie said, I just started wearing the Viva Ray blue blockers in the evening and it's helped. And going to bed a half an hour earlier and less carbs, and I wake up without being exhausted anymore. That sounds amazing, Jackie. Yeah, definitely. Some people do experience much better sleep with a lower carb diet. And the blue blockers, the wind down, less light. Yeah, and giving yourself adequate time to get to sleep, right? Sometimes we think we're going to fall asleep right as our head hits the pillow, and that's not the case in most cases. They actually did a study, you know, they've done many studies. An optimal sleep time for most people is between 7 and 9 hours. And that's sleep time, not bedtime, right? So if you're somebody that takes a little while to fall asleep and you kind of wake up a little groggy and it takes a little while to wake up, that part doesn't count as your sleep. And I know a lot of people, they might be in bed for 7 or 8 hours, but they're not sleeping for 7 or 8 hours. So that's a big deal. Why is it a big deal? Well, if especially if you're somebody that's trying to lose weight, they've done studies and found that if you sleep less, if you're sleep deprived, I think that was like 6 hours. The comparison, so 6 to 8 hours in this comparison. The group that was sleep deprived lost the majority of their weight as muscle mass, whereas the sleep sufficient group lost the majority of their weight as body fat. Yes, yes, indeed. If you are sleep deprived, you may lose more muscle mass than you want. Because if you lose weight, you're losing both body fat and muscle mass or lean mass, right? In your weight loss. You're trying to limit muscle loss while maximize body fat loss. And so if you don't sleep well or you don't sleep enough, it flips and you lose more lean mass than you lose fat mass. That's not what we want. That makes your body composition worse instead of better. You won't like the way you look thinner, just smaller when you have more body fat. I mean, not technically more, but the percentage is higher. And so that's something to look into. And it's like, just kick me while I'm down, right? I can't sleep, and now you're telling me my body fat percentage is going to go up. What is wrong with the universe that this is what happens? But it is what happens. So definitely sleep is very important. I know Matthew Walker, who wrote Why We Sleep, and I cornered him one day and said, does this mean that if you're not sleeping well, you shouldn't try to lose weight? And he actually said no. He would still suggest that weight loss is still overall helpful, but you want to do everything within your power to sleep better, especially while trying to lose weight. Now, if you're not trying to lose weight, it's still just as important. Um, Bad sleep increases insulin resistance. It does all sorts of bad things. People who don't sleep as well will tend to get more cognitive decline, will be at higher risk for Alzheimer's. So, quite honestly, Matthew Walker said this, and I'm starting to believe him that sleep might be the most important thing that we do. I mean, certainly we don't want to be in a horrendous health, and we don't want to eat a horrendous diet. But a lot of us are out here nitpicking over, did we have 15 grams of carbs or 12? And yet we're sleeping 5 hours a night. And we're looking at the wrong thing. So once you kind of get your diet mostly good and put that in dry, like cruise control and just move, it might be more advantageous to put more attention on sleep at that point. Certainly if you're struggling, if you're not losing weight when you think you should be, if you're cognitively not as together as you think you should be, if you're not seeing the body composition changes that you think you should, if you're not seeing progress in the gym when you're lifting weights, like all of those things, sleep might be behind what's going on. So definitely prioritizing sleep can be very helpful. If I haven't convinced you yet, I should not be in politics because apparently I'm doing a poor job of it. But hopefully some of that is getting through to you guys. It can be super frustrating. I totally get it. I feel like a lot of the sleep advice out there, like when you're like, I'm telling you how important sleep is. You're like, I get it. I'm trying. It's sort of like when you're stressed out and I'm like, stop being stressed out. Like, you're like, "Thanks, that's not helpful." But I think if we just take a deep breath, and say like, "Okay, but what could I do to help my sleep? Are there any things that I am not doing that could help my sleep?" Like, what do we talk about so far? Lighting your eyes in the morning, getting up and out, delaying the coffee, then having some coffee, then cutting off the caffeine, adjusting the lights around you throughout the day, all of those things. Um, Very important for all of us. If you want somebody to listen to about sleep, Matthew Walker wrote a book called Why We Sleep. He also has a podcast where he puts out little like 20-minute snippets about sleep. So you can go look for that. Karen, I'm a night owl. I need to make myself go to sleep earlier. So if you're a night owl, that's fine. But you can't let being a night owl rob you of sleep. Like if you're somebody who's like, I like to go to bed around midnight, but then I get up at like 9 a.m., fine. There doesn't seem to be a lot of that's not a problem. But if you're a night owl who doesn't go to sleep until midnight, but you have to be up by 6 a.m., that's a problem. So, um, so there you go. You gotta take that into account. So work backwards. You can start to train your brain to go to bed earlier. You absolutely can. Jackie, you can always remind people they will die faster without sleep without food. Yes, yes. Like I think is it 3 days? I like it's like less than a week if you like deprive people, like you don't let people sleep, they will just croak. They will die. Much, much sooner than if without food or even water, apparently. I mean, water is a big one. You'll die much sooner without water than without food. But even that, the sleep will kill you faster. I mean, not if they're like you're sweating and you're in the Sahara Desert, but still, it's pretty bad. All right. Tina says total cholesterol 1 year ago was almost 300, mostly ketovore, lost 30 pounds. Doctor wants me to take statins. I said no. Did a 2 week trip to Italy and Greece, ate lots of stuff, gained 3 pounds, had blood work done. It's probably water weight, hun. So don't worry about it too much. Had blood work done for 1 year later. Total cholesterol is 200 and doctor is happy. It's because I ate crap. She won't even discuss food and how I feel, just numbers. Yeah, for hyper responders, so there's something called a hyper responder. You can follow Dave Feldman, who talks quite a bit about hyper responders. Um, if you increase your carbs, your LDL will go down. If you're a hyper responder and you eat more carbs, your LDL will go down. There's something called the carb swap experiment that he did, and he swapped out fats for carbs, ate more carbs, ate a higher carb diet for a while, and all his numbers came down in terms of his LDL, rather. So it is indeed true that you can lower your LDL with more carbs. You do have to look at the whole picture about how you feel, what kind of carbs. There's also a happy medium. You don't necessarily need to do it with crappy carbs. You also don't need to do it at all. You just have to take into account all the things that are important to you, how you feel, how you function, how what's going on with your mental health, your physical health. We're not a one voter issue. I got my voter ballot today. That's why I keep thinking of politics. I This will not become a political discussion. But like we're a one voter issue. We're not, right. We're not like it's only cholesterol matters. There's a whole host of things that matter. But our doctors seem to think sometimes there's only one thing that matters, which is cholesterol. So you have to take all of that into account when looking at your health trajectory. So, am I saying that? And I think sorry, interrupted my own thoughts. Dr. Tro did an experiment, and I think this is up on Cholesterol Code's site, where he had some of his clients, he's a doctor, so they're patients for him. Some of his patients do like 60 grams of total carbs, I think. So I should read this study clearly. I only heard about it, and brought that LDL down, and yet did not see really super negative repercussions in terms of weight and things like that. So, we all can make different choices in terms of, balancing all of the health things that we're trying to balance. So it is true though, what you see, Tina, that a little more carbs for hyper responders definitely bring LDL down. In most cases. Exchange student says, what's my favorite Creami? So I have two, I would say. So well, three, but it's not, but one of them only happens in nectarine season, and it is not nectarine season. So the nectarine season one is Faye plain yogurt, vanilla, like a teaspoon of vanilla, and allulose. Now, on the Creamy container, there's a line that's like the only fill to here line. I have learned that I like to fill it about 2/3 to that line, not all the way, because they're good the first time you make them. Now you can respin them, but I like to make like what I consider a serving, which is like a little more than half. Um, my boyfriend Eric and I do two different, we each make our own, or else we just share it. But anyway, so I only put in as much as I think is an appropriate serving for me. That's just the way I do it. So, so I fill it about 2/3 to the line, not 2/3 to the top, 2/3 to the line with plain yogurt. I use some allulose to sweeten it up, a little vanilla, and then I just freeze that. This is what I've come up with. Then the night that I'm making it, I chop up a fresh nectarine. I actually take the skin off. I like the skin. I think it's tasty when I eat it with the skin, but it doesn't do well in the blending. It separates from the nectarine, and then so I guess you could do a peach, but I prefer nectarine. So I take the skin off because, or else you get like skin in there. And then I do a mix in with the nectarine, and I think that's delicious. So you could do that with any fruit if you wanted to. So that's I like that. Um, but again, it's not nectarine season, so I can't do that. My second favorite that I make is a cherry one. Now, obviously, this is going to have a few more carbs than some of you, some of you might want. But Two Good yogurt makes a 3 total carb yogurt. They have cherry flavors, so I put two of those in the Creamy, and then I get a lime yogurt. Now this one, the lime, it's light and fit. That brand does have like 8 grams of carbs, but I only use half in the Creamy. But still, that's 3, 6, 4, 3, 6. That's 10 total carbs in this Creamy. So it's cherry, and then it's got like this hint of lime. So that's delicious, I think. And then I will use my boyfriend. There are these ice drinks, you know, the icy, they're like a flavored seltzery, but they're sweetened. He likes to put a splash of the cherry one in sparkling water to flavor it a little bit. And so we have like an open one in the fridge all the time. So I'll put like a splash of that and mix it in. It kind of enhances the cherry flavor. So that's my cherry one. And then I make a chocolate one, which is just chocolate protein powder. And I use my brain is not working. Chocolate protein powder. I add extra cocoa. That's the word, cocoa. And then I use something called Fairlife milk, which is higher protein, lower carb milk. It still has some carbs. So if you didn't want to use that, you could use almond milk or something with even less carbs. But those are the Creamy, my go-to creamies. So it's always either a yogurt base or a protein shake base for me. Those come out the best, in my opinion, make me the happiest. So those are my Creamy solutions. All right. And yeah, I have a Creamy most nights. When I met my boyfriend, he was like ice cream was his favorite thing in the world. And we've been together a really long time. And so when we were really young, he would have like a lot of ice cream. And as he's gotten older, he's just kind of cut back. Now he has would have a little bit of ice cream every night. But since we got the Creamy, he doesn't we don't even have ice cream in the house, which I don't think has been true in several decades because he prefers the Creamy. Tina says thoughts about milk, coconut, almond, etc. I never bother to open a can of coconut milk, so I haven't really experimented with coconut milk. I'm sure it'd be great. I always have an open container of almond milk in the fridge. I often use that to thin things out or mix, like if I want to lower the carbs on something that's kind of milky or things like that. So, I would probably do the almond. It doesn't have a lot of fat. I might do something like 90% almond milk and a tablespoon or two of heavy cream. Now, one of the things I found with a Creamy, you can't do it too high a fat. Like if you try to put a lot of cream in there, we did once, and we made butter. We made flavored butter. So because it like spins it so fast, it basically churns it into butter. And that was not the texture you were looking for in a frozen dessert. You can put some fat in there. You can use high fat. You can use like full fat yogurts, or add a little bit of cream, but I would not add a lot because yeah, it doesn't it comes out the texture's off. I think the Creamy is really more designed for lower, not low, but lower fat approaches. Could be low, but certainly not a high fat solution. If you want the best option for high fat dairy or non-dairy desserts, then I would get an ice cream maker, not a Creamy. Tina said, "Is Fairlife milk?" Yes, it is. It is filtered milk. So they filter regular milk, and it is, but there's still some carbs. So, like, I think a cup of regular milk is like 16 grams of carbs, whereas a cup of Fairlife milk is like 7. So it's like half the carbs, and it's like double the protein because it's thicker. It's got more proteins in it. So it still has some carbs, but it doesn't have as many as regular milk. So it's kind of like splits the difference. John asks, "Has mine come out powdery?" Yeah, yeah, totally. Powdery absolutely happens. That's why I like to do a respin. So if it comes out powdery, it's just because of space in the machine. So like air got infused in there. So if you don't want it to come out powdery, here is my best suggestion. You respin it. It's basically it's so cold and frozen that it becomes snow. So you can respin it. What I do though is I will spin it once, it'll be powdery. I'll make a little hole in the center. I'll pour some liquid in there, like almond milk or something like that. And then I'll put it in as a mix in, and it goes away. So it's just too cold is what's happening. So you can respin it, or you can add a little bit of liquid, and it makes it more concentrated, and I think it brings the temperature up a little bit actually, and that helps. So you can just keep spinning it until it's no longer powdery, or you can add a little bit of liquid and spin it once more, or respin it, or even do that liquid as a mix in. Jackie says, "Looking forward to the cruise." Yes, yes, I am. Although I am a very last minute kind of girl. So when something's far enough out, I'm like, this is so far away. So I know that I'm looking forward to it. I'm just not spending a lot of time thinking about it because there's a lot of stuff happening before that. I don't know why that's the way my brain works, but I'm excited when I put my attention on it. I'm very excited about it. It's always funny because Debbie's always like, "Okay, you got to sign up for this and you got to sign up for that." I'm like, "It's like 8 months away. Why would I do that now? How do I know how I'm gonna feel then?" Right? Like, I'm not a far in advance planner. It's not the way my brain works, especially around like vacationy things. Um, uh, Patricia asked, "What do I think about Fairlife protein milks?" That's what I'm just talking about. So Fairlife, so Fairlife, the company makes a couple different things. They make milk, which is just higher protein milk. They also make protein shakes, so which are they have added protein. So the Fairlife milk, that one is just ultra filtered milk. So it's milk that's been filtered to remove some of the carbohydrates and add a little bit more protein back in with that filtration process because it's more concentrated, right? Then on the other end, we've got Fairlife protein shakes where they actually add whey protein. I think they just do whey. Anyway, they add protein. So now it's a protein shake, like like a liquid protein shake. Those are shelf stable, whereas the milks need to be in the refrigerator. So they're a little bit different. The shake ones come in flavors, right? I think they have banana, they have strawberry. It might be banana strawberry. I've never tried that one. I've just seen it. They have chocolate, they got vanilla. They come in two sizes, smaller one and a bigger one. I'm trying to think what I've seen at the stores. I think they're good. I think they're good. I think they're all pretty good. There a lot of those pre-mixed shakes are a little sweet. So you have to, take that into account. But I've done one of those Fairlife shakes, just the liquid shakes, that you can pour, put it in the Creamy and just process that. It was delicious. So super easy. A little more expensive per use than other things, but can be very useful. And they make good coffee creamers and stuff like that. So Jackie says it's 32 degrees today in Indy. Oof. So I was in Indiana a month ago. No, less than that. 3 weeks ago, about 3.5 weeks ago. And it was like just turning from warmish to cool. So you went down fast. It is currently, what is it currently? 76 degrees here in Berkeley, California. It's going to be cooler later in the week, but 65 is our coolest day. So we're still in our warm period. Um, uh, October is still, especially the first half of the month, is a warm period in the Bay Area. We have late summer. Our summer is moved. June is cold or chilly, foggy. Amy, cruise? Question mark. Yes, there is something, Amy, called the low carb cruise. It's put on every year. It's happening in June. First few days in June out of Houston. You should come, Amy. You'd have a really good time. It is, if you look for I think it's lowcarbcruise.com, but if you just Google low carb cruise, Debbie Hubbs puts it on. And it is an event where what we do is I don't know if you've ever been on a cruise, there are like 3 or 4 at sea days and 3 or 4 like days where you're somewhere, destination days. And the at sea days, we have a conference. So there's a conference on the at sea days. And then the at shore days, it's like half regular cruise, half conference. And so, yeah, look it up. It's going to be super fun, Amy. You should come. Should probably talk is what you should do too. So talk to Debbie. Moonglow said, I'm trying to eat mostly carnivore, but I heard an MD say meats are acidic. Yeah. That's why one needs to eat veggies and fruits to get a balance of alkaline. So, you can tell I'm like, I don't know. So, yes, your urine will be a little more acidic with a higher protein diet. Your blood will not be, or you would die. So when people, it's sort of like, I feel like it's misdirection. I don't think it's important. No. So yeah, your urine will be more acidic, but your urine being more acidic, you kind of have to ask yourself if that's a problem. I don't think that's a problem. Yeah, if your blood is more acidic, that's a huge problem, but high protein diets or more meat will not cause your blood to be more acidic. So I wouldn't worry about it. If you like vegetables, eat vegetables. If you don't like vegetables, I'm not super concerned about that. Exchange student, I eat lots of vegetables. I like them. Exchange student says, any protein powder recommendations? I use keto chart for the Creami, didn't care for it. Yeah. I use PE Science. So it's a combination of whey and casein, actually, just like keto chow is. I think the issue with keto chow that some people run into is it's got its own kind of flavor because it's got all the vitamins and minerals in it, um, which are good for your nutrition if you're using keto chow as a meal replacement. But it can be you might have to overcome those flavors a little bit. And it's interesting because adding cream or fat or butter does seem to balance the flavor because they designed keto chow to be used with a higher fat diet, right? Um, but I find if you use it without the higher fat, it can be challenging. So yeah, so I would look for we got some recommendations. ISO Pure Zero Carb, says Terry. Yep, that's fine. That's 100% whey. Marigold, Amy likes, and yeah, that's very good. The chocolate malt, I think I've tried that one. Very good. That's a whey protein concentrate, if I remember correctly. So we're gonna have to wrap it up here, so I don't have time to do a whole protein powder thing, but I should do a thing on protein powder. So I'll do a talk on all. I have done a lot of research on protein powder. So basically you've got dairy protein, which is a combination of so like milk, right? Milk protein is casein, 80% casein and 20% whey. There's a lot of things like Isopure is 100% whey protein. Whey protein is absorbed faster than casein protein. Some people are sensitive to one, some people are sensitive to the other. I think the sensitivity thing, most people are not sensitive. Most people can use dairy protein. Some people cannot, but most people can. Dairy protein is really high quality. Next you got egg protein. Great option if you can't do dairy. There's also things like the Quip brand, which makes beef protein isolate, which is fabulous. I've done Equip chocolate in the Creami, and it's very good. So that we've got, so those are the ones that I primarily focus on. Whey, casein, or a combination of casein and whey, which is called dairy protein. Then we've got now my brain is not working. Then we've got the egg protein. Then we've got the beef protein isolate. Those are my main ones. Then there are there are vegan ones. I don't like them as much, but if you're for whatever reason you can't do the first three I talked about, we can move on to the others. Say the name of the combo you use. Now I have forgotten what combo I was talking about. Casein and whey. Is that the combo that I was saying? So dairy protein is a combination of casein and whey. So for baking and almost everything, I like casein and whey because whey is very thin and casein gets very thick. It kind of gels up. So I like casein and whey together for most things. But I think if you want a shake, sometimes whey tastes better just by itself. So I agree that Marigold is a good brand and Isopure is a good brand. The brand I often use, I like Keto Chow very much, but again, I do get that the saltiness can be an impediment sometimes. So in those cases, I use PE Science. PE, like PE class when you were in high school. PE Science. It is a combination of whey and casein. And so that I use for baking if I can't use Keto Chow for one reason or another. So there you go. All right, guys. I hope everyone has a fabulous night, and I will see you next week. All right. Bye bye.